This is just gel matte medium. I'm getting ready to pull a ghost print off this. These don't always work. Sometimes they do. I'm putting it on top of another ghost print. See what happens. Sometimes you can pull a ghost print, not always. Sometimes they're gorgeous, sometimes they don't work. Everything is an experiment. It's kind of interesting. Yeah. Yep. It's very interesting, very abstract. I sometimes use these for collage. Yeah, I like it. I like how the other ghost print is in the background in here. It just kind of blends in. And there's the pink remnants, pink and red remnants from the last print. Really interesting. In between prints, I use just regular baby wipes. And I use the cheap kind of baby wipes because I'm not worried about a baby's skin or putting them on my precious baby. So I don't worry about buying expensive baby wipes. I buy the ones that are really inexpensive because I'm not putting them on a child. And they clean up really well because obviously they still have to be gentle because they're formulated for children. So I put them right on my gel plate, and I also use them to clean the brayer. Really indispensable in the studio because they help. You can wipe up spills real easily. They do a really good job with the acrylic paint and the brayer. They take everything off. Your tools, you know, they're just really great to have. Not that you won't get staining. Of course you're going to get a little bit of staining, but you're just not going to get that big amount of buildup on your tools. And off to the side, I always have a piece of paper handy to immediately roll my brayer on. And that actually helps cut down on the amount of cleanup I have to do as well. And I also end up with really interesting papers from that process of just cleaning my brayer. These can be collage papers for abstract paintings. You can cut them into shapes. They're really cool. So today I wanted to talk about making jelly prints with hand-cut stencils. So stencils we create by ourselves so we can get a little bit of our own work into the mono printing process rather than using purchased stencils, which also come out really great and they're really fun to play with. But if you want to get into doing some of your own designs and using some of your own drawing and using your original work, I'm going to demonstrate how to do some simple hand-cut stencils, and I'll do some abstract ones and also some representational designs, and I'll just kind of demo how that would work. And they're just really fun to do and fun to experiment with. And in most cases, I like to use two colors. Start with a background color, and then I can add a color on top. So they can be really interesting that way. And I'll talk a little bit about how we choose the colors so that they come out in a harmonious way or a dynamic way, and how we would go about picking those colors. So I just want to give you a quick little flip with some ones I've done in the past. So here's a little chair. I love chairs. I love working with quirky chairs, and this is a chair drawing that I did. I usually use a heavyweight paper for my stencils because I tend to like to do a short run of them. You could use an acetate, and then you would draw onto the acetate with a marker like a Sharpie, and then cut around it with an X-Acto knife. In this case, I normally draw with just a drawing pencil, cut most of it out with a scissor, and then the interior pieces I would do with an X-Acto knife. And here's another one. And this stencil, I have different parts, so you can change this one up. Like the little plant is a different piece that you would lay on the jelly plate. The chair is a separate piece, and that little table is just something, just a little piece of paper that I add in. Yeah, so it's super easy. These were drawings I did of weeds and pieces of nature that I had found out in the garden and in the woods. I live in the country, so I had gone and picked meadow plants, and these were very complicated to cut out, and they took a while to cut, but they were really fun to do. And so I did a series of these in different colors, so they were fun to do. And you know, you can definitely get, if you don't mind cutting out and you have a lot of patience, you can do things like this. But also I'm going to show you some really easy, organic, fun, abstract ones that you can cut out real easily and go ahead and make some fun, organic abstracts with. Okay, let's get started. So you want a basic idea of how large your gel plate is going to be. And this is the size paper that I use when I'm printmaking. So you'll notice a lot of times when I'm printmaking that I have a paper under the gel plate. That is so when I'm using the printing paper, all I have to do is orient my gel plate where I want my print to be. And then when I come back over with my paper, I orient my paper to the four corners. So I always know I'm putting my paper down in the same exact place. So when I'm pulling more than one color, I don't have to really think about, oh my goodness, am I putting it in the right place? Because I have these four corners to go by. In some of my prints, like this one, you'll notice that I intentionally offset it. I did this on purpose. I put it slightly off center because I wanted a little bit of a yellow strip here, and I wanted a little bit of the white of the chair legs to show on the bottom. And that's, you know, that was done intentionally. Okay. So if you want to make sure that your pieces are cut exactly to the size of this, you could take your pencil and just draw around here. I don't really tend to do that so much, but if you're a really precise person, you might want to do that. If I was just going to draw, like right now, I'm going to do a very organic abstract pattern. This is 100-pound drawing paper, which is a nice weight. It's a nice thick paper, so it's going to hold up to my acrylic paint. And I just want to do a hand-drawn type abstract design that I can lay down on my paper I can lay down on my jelly and make a nice design. Hand drawing it makes it more organic. It won't be as precise as, you know, something you print out, although you could print out a design and make it for the size that you wanted to, if that's your preference. I really like a hand-drawn look. Now, when I'm cutting out, I'm really careful about the outer edges because we're gonna be able to use those as well. Now, I would cut this particular one because it's such an easy, it's an easy pattern. I would cut this whole thing with the scissors. But since I already have one cut out, I'm going to show you. Now, I reused a paper here, so I'm just going to do this. I'm going to show you what I mean here. I have to figure out how I did this. Okay. All right, so this was a gel print that I wasn't too fond of, so I reused the paper. And so now I have two prints I can use. I can lay these down on here if I'd like. And use them like this. But I can also use these as well. And I don't have to line them up exactly, so I can, you know, I can put them up really close together. I can offset them a bit. You know, you can kind of play with things a little bit and adjust them in quirky ways if you'd like. Kind of play a little bit with them so that it's more to your liking. Okay. So if you're really careful about how you cut them out, you're going to have two ways to play with this. Okay. So if you're looking for a little bit of inspiration, you might want to head to your local library or bookshop. There's a whole bunch of different places you can look in the interior design section of your library or bookshop. There's lots of these books on pattern, and you can find really interesting things that might spark your interest. All these things can be blown up or reduced on the copy machine, and then you can transfer those things to paper to trace and draw, or you might just come up with your own design, kind of inspired by something you see that you want to create a stencil from, your own design from. But they're really inspiring to look through. So this is just an interior design book of designs that I'm flipping through right now. This one is really cool. It's called Pretty Patterns, Surface Design by 25 Contemporary Artists. And this was put out by Chronicle Books. And I will link to this in the description below. This one is called Design Motifs of Ancient Mexico by Jorge Enciso. And this one is really cool too, because it's got some really ethnic Mexican, really dynamic designs. I really love this book. I think it's really cool. There's just so many beautiful designs in here. These are traditional, indigenous, native Mexican designs, and they are so inspiring. I've made some clay stamps from this book. Just really cool stuff. Of course, the cutouts of Henri Matisse are always inspiring, and so I'm sure you could find a book like this that would give you tons of ideas in your local library or in a bookshop, because these shapes would really lend themselves to Gelli stencils. It's always great to go back to the masters for inspiration. So many cool shapes to think about. And so I have a lot of these designs I've picked up, design books I've picked up over the years. Just so many really inspiring books that have really cool designs and things for my different projects and paintings. And I'm really into pattern in my paintings, and I love textiles, and I just find these books so inspiring in my own work. So if you're looking for a little bit of inspiration, always head for a book. Okay, so a lot of people in my classes are beginning painting students and beginning art students, and they very often ask me about how to pick colors so that their artwork is harmonious and so that the colors flow together well, and they just don't even know where to start. And I always recommend a color wheel, and this one is my favorite. It's by the Color Wheel Company, and I have 2 tools by them today, and this one I will link in the description box below. It's the regular Guide to Mixing Color by the Color Wheel Company. And so one of the things that I tell people is that an analogous color palette is probably a good place to start when they're planning paintings, and that is when we choose any 5 colors in a row. So you can go across the color wheel and pick any 5, starting anywhere in a row, and those are going to be analogous colors, and those 5 colors in a row will always create a harmonious color palette. And this color wheel actually defines all the different color terminology. Everything's on here, and here it says analogous is using colors that are adjacent to each other on the color wheel. It says use at least 2 but no more than 5 consecutive colors on the wheel. And so it will really help you to find colors that work well together. And then I'm going to give you one more tip, because color can take so long to get under your belt. But this is another tool. Now, I don't know if this is also by the Color Wheel Company, but I have not been able to find this online. This tool came out in 2000, and it is called, this one is called the Guide to Colors That Harmonize. And I wish I could find it, because my students are always begging me to find a place to buy this. So this one has the color wheel and your 5 analogous colors in a window, and you can turn it, and you keep turning it, and it shows you where your analogous colors are. But my favorite color palette is the analogous color palette with a pop of complementary, and this automatically finds that for you on the bottom here, because the color, your complementary colors are always opposite your color on the color wheel. So here they're giving that to you automatically in the bottom window. So if this were my analogous color palette, all I'd have to do is look below and I could choose one of these to pop into this color palette, and it would be a very dynamic color palette. So this is a great tool, and I wish I could find this for my students and share the link. I'm going to keep looking, and it's called the Interior Design Color Wheel by the Color Wheel Company. And I don't even know if it's available by somebody that has a back stock of them. And it came out in the year 2000. But this is the same company that makes this color wheel, which is always in stock everywhere. This is a wonderful color wheel. Now, on this one, on the front, they've already blocked off the 5 colors. So you always know where your analogous colors lie. And on the bottom, you would just pick out the 3 across on the bottom that are directly opposite your 5 on top. So even though it's not as easy to read, you can always find them. That's just a little bit about color and how to find the complementary colors to your 5 analogous colors. Okay. So I always use liquid paint, liquid acrylic. Now you can use any sort of liquid acrylic, even craft paint will work. Soft bodied paint, like the Liquitex soft body paint, that works great. Golden liquid paint, craft paint will work. You can use any of those types of paints. Heavy body paint does not work as well for jelly printing. Now this is just a color. This is just a background. And I just put a cream color background on this one. It's a little bit of a color in here. Okay. A little bit of a color in the background. Now this one, now when I'm doing my jelly, I don't mind if they get a little scungy. Less is always more. When you're doing jelly, you don't want to overload your plate with paint. You want a nice thin layer. Okay. I'm taking 2 backgrounds right now. 2 backgrounds. This is where I had my drawing, so I'm going on the back. I thought it was a piece of paper. That's all right. All right, and plop that on here. Okay, well, this is a really pretty gray-green. Okay, now this looks a little off. I'm just going to scooch it over a bit. Okay, that's perfect. All right, now I'm going to play with this abstract. Now there's 2 ways you can do this. You can lay them down and roll over them, or you can put the paint down, plop them on top of the paint, and then take a pull. I think today I am going to, yeah, maybe I'll do, I think I'm going to do it like this today. And so I want mine to have a little bit of a visual tension, so I'm okay. Now, it's a little bit messier when you do it like this, but it's okay. When you're trying to roll them, roll over the stencil, but it's okay. I mean, we roll over the commercial stencils all the time, so. And I'm going to show you what we do here. Hold on one second here. I'm going to get a nice even layer. And then we're going to pull these up like that. Okay. Okay. All right, so now I'll go ahead and put this down. And yes, you can use a Baron, you can use a brayer, you can use a squeegee like I have here. All those things will work. Now this I moved so it came off a little offset. I don't mind it. I think it looks adorable. I really like it. I like that so much. Yep. Yep. I love that. Okay, so now I'm gonna just do this. Acrylic paint dries really, really fast. So I'm going to do this. I'm just going to wipe these down. Oop. And just, they'll be dry in like a second if I just wipe them, because they're almost dry anyway. Acrylic is like the fastest drying paint, especially if we're using it on paper, because it's very absorbent and it sucks all the moisture out of it. So now, yeah. All right, now I'm going to take this back. All right. Now we have this green. Okay. Okay, now I know this looks a little messy, but sometimes it gives it more character. Now, if you're real fussy, you could go ahead and you could easily clean this up. Sometimes I like it to be a little bit, oh, wait a minute, I wanted to put these down first. I'm gonna go ahead and do this first. You could clean those up before you roll if you don't like that messiness. Okay. There we are. Get it smoothly rolled out. There we are. Okay. That's the other thing about doing them bigger than they need to be. is that because then we have like a little thing to lift them with. Okay. There we are. Okay, so now I'm going to go carefully and drop this onto the corners. Now, I used, this is also offset and I really adore it. Now, you'll see a little pieces of yellow and I really love that. This is a more dynamic color palette and this is a softer, this color palette is very soft because it's a creamy yellow. A creamy yellow with a cream color. So that white has a lot of yellow in it. So it's an analogous color palette. Yellow, white, and yellow. This one is very dynamic because we've mixed complementary colors. A very pale green and a very pale pink. So pink and green. Now pink is red. It's actually red and white mixed together, which is a tint of red. So it's red and green, which are complementary colors. And that's why it's a very dynamic color palette. And that's the two together with the abstract design. Super fun to make. So I hope this helps you create some of your own designs and experiment with hand cut stencils. Okay, so let's do some of the negative space stencils. Just gonna pull a background for these. Again, we're just gonna do a very thin layer of that cream. Again, I really like that cream color. It's really pretty. Gotta get a nice piece of paper here. I like to print on 100-pound mixed media paper, 100-pound drawing paper. It's a nice heavyweight paper for mono printing. Okay. Now, there is a lot of noise on this okay. So we call noise when there's a lot of paint left on here. That was a thin layer, so I'm surprised that happened. I'm not gonna worry about it too much because I'm gonna lift off a ghost print when we're done. And I'm just gonna roll over these so it won't matter. Let's just experiment and see what happens. So now I'm rolling out some negative space. Instead of putting down the shape, I'm putting the other side, which is the little, the cutouts. And so you can kind of play with how you want those to sit on here. Okay. I want this one to be a little tilty. All right. So now I'm going to go. Okay, that should be enough. see. And I'm going to pull these guys off. Oh, yeah. That's going to look cool. So now, let's pull this out. Line our sides up. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I really love how some of those under layers are coming through. That's why, like, when I'm doing the printmaking, sometimes I don't pick up or clean in between. Now, I want to show you a little bit of a trick. Now, we have a very dirty looking gel plate right now. And so what I'm going to do is grab another piece of printing paper, and I'm just going to put a couple of drops of matte medium and try to pick up a ghost print. Now, this works sometimes, and sometimes it does not work. So you never know. I mean, we might get a great one. I mean, it looks like it has the potential to be a really good one. Now we're going to just roll out a thin layer of matte medium on the whole thing and hope that it comes out nicely. All right, so I'm going to put the matte medium on here. I'm going to roll out, try to get some of it off. And then I'm going to plop down a nice piece of printing paper. Now, I'm really going to work on this with my squeegee because I really want it to come out or to come off. No messing around. All right, let's see. Not really. Didn't do too much. Oh, well. Sometimes you get a meh, but it's actually interesting enough that I would cut that and use it as collage in an abstract painting. So I'm not going to complain about it. Okay. All right. So, as always, I'm just going to go in with my baby wipes, clean up my mess, and call it a day. Okay. So now I'm going to try one more time with paint and just see if I can get this whole thing to lift with paint. What do we have to lose? Sometimes you just have to keep pushing, especially with jelly, because you just don't know. So I did a thin layer of that pale green, and don't forget that green and yellow are analogous colors. So we're going to put that back on. I'm going to use this ghost print again. Go right on top. I made that a little wetter than I normally would. And I'm just going to go right on top here. And I'm going to see if I can get this whole thing to lift off onto this print. Let's see what's happening here. Yep, it's starting to come up. Yeah, it's more interesting now, for sure. Yeah, I like that a lot. Well, if you don't succeed, try again. Thanks for joining me in the studio today. I hope it gave you inspiring ideas to take to your own studio. Please like, share, and subscribe, and join me again soon.